So you can see where do I take the boldness of being decisive.
No.
Whether it's a risk or not, I'm not afraid of taking risk. I can sit here and complain that the queue is long. Or I can get out and take a gun and join the revolutionaries and fight and get power and change the water, give them clean water, give them houses, there won't be TB, give them all those, deal with all this disease. Exploration, it's ongoing. We're waiting for the confirmation of the results.
Okay.
So there's work that is ongoing. Okay. I'm just waiting for the confirmation. Once I have the results, I'll be able to go and confirm to say, we've been able to, we can drill hydrogen here. We don't have to be dependent.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The People's Eye. My name is Sizwe Samayende, your host. Today we're having a special guest, the Premier of Limpopo Province, Dr. Phophi Ramathuba. We're going to talk a lot about her. I suppose many people really want to know more about this very active Premier. It's everywhere, in bus ranks, in music festivals, in churches, in hospitals. She's all over. Dr. Ramathuba, welcome to The People's Eye.
I'll say greetings to you, Sizwe, and all your followers of the People's Eye, and all of them, special greetings to them out there, and we really appreciate this opportunity to get to be interviewed in a manner which is not a confrontational one, in a relaxed mood, as far as I hear and I understand, not accounting whether there is a doctor who amputated a wrong limb, or there is a learner who are studying under a tree, or there is no water in Guyana, or this. I think it's sometimes we really need those type of interviews like this one we're having today. Yeah,
really, it's very important. Also, you just discuss issues in a relaxed manner, not to resolve a crisis that has come up, and we are able to even to know you better. Let's start from there, knowing you better. Where did you grow up? Where are you from around the province?
I've got quite an interesting story. I was born and raised at Mashamba village. Growing up in those dusty streets, went to school around Mashamba area until I did my high school at Mbilwi in Thohoyandou.
Oh, and the product of Mbilwi.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Now I understand.
Then went to the then Medical University of Southern Africa, Medunza, which is now Sefako Makgatu School of Health, University of Health Sciences. And from there, after the university graduating, I decided to come back home to work as a medical intern. Okay. I decided to work in a town called Mokopane. Oh, yeah. And my daughter recently was asking me, why did I choose Mokopane and not go back to the Wembe district where I grew? And I remember growing up, and also early 1994 after the democracy, there was that town called Potgietersrus with 2 schools there, the primary and the secondary, very racial, wherein the white Afrikaners would not want black kids post 94 to study in that school. And there is a hospital there called Voortrekker. That hospital, it was in town and for white people only. Now, there was one white doctor who admitted the first black patient to be admitted, and then there were these 2 Pistorius, the father and the son, who were doctors at that time. They then bombed the house of the other doctor.
Wow.
And unfortunately, this doctor by now has passed on. But so I wanted to work with this doctor who really was brave enough to admit a first black patient in a hospital where they were not really allowed. So that's what drove me to love this town. And when I read in one of these stories, the very same Pistorius guys, because in the past there were no black doctors.
Yes.
So they would go and do some sessional work at Mukopane Hospital. They said it used to be called Refill. Okay. And when they see black patients there, at times when their dog has challenges, they'll go and operate it in the theater in Mukopane Hospital. So before you come in, before they operate you, they will operate. And if you look at them, they were arrested some years back because they were found to be the one who were running a terrorist organization somewhere. You can read the story.
I remember.
I think you remember that big story. Yes. So when I chose to say in 2000 I'm going to stay in that, I did my internship because there were 3 hospitals around Mogalakwena municipality. Yes. So it was Mukopane where we will be allocated for internship, and then when we're done, we go to George Masebe community service, and then also go to Fort Teker for community service. So I then decided to reside there up until today. Yes.
Oh, okay. No, that's great. That's great. You really wanted to be a doctor from young age, or something that you thought about as you grew up, as you began to understand the world? I mean, what drove you into medicine?
I think I was raised by parents who are teachers. My father was a school principal who was very strict in education. But what motivated more was that this story that I always tell, and people tend to not to believe. Fortunately, my mother is still alive, even though my father has passed on. My father married a princess from the Mashau royal house, where a girl child was not allowed to go to school. As long as you can go and learn how to write a letter, you will be married. So she was fortunate to be married by my father at Standard 6, the old Standard 6.
Yes.
Then she got married, she had 4 kids, decided to go back my father says, you must go back to school. She started from 1 when we were alive and whatever. When we start school, when we go to primary, my mother was going to secondary. When we go to school,
interesting.
And then until she get a grade 12 matric at that time, went to teachers college, did her teacher's diploma, came back, taught, go to UNISAP until when she retired, being with all these postgraduate degrees from Standard 5. Yeah. So that tells you that you are raised by a father who is very clear in terms of education. Yeah. And when my father explained to me is that when he took my mother to school, he would get the backlash to say when she graduates, when she finishes, she's going to leave you. But the good thing is that he took that risk. When she finished, she stayed with him, and they raised their children. By the time my father passed on, all his children were graduates. My brother is a medical doctor, and I followed. I have a younger sister who is a dentist, and I've got another one who is a chartered accountant. So you can see that because of that foundation. And then coming to medicine itself, my father's younger brother was a lab technician before he retired. So I stayed with him, and he was motivating us. We loved his clinical code when we went to visit him in Chiridzini. Sometimes he worked in Elim Hospital, so we would love to wear that coat. But then he's married a professional nurse. My initial wish was to be a nurse, because when I see her wearing those Florence Nightingale
that story,
capes, those nice maroon capes. I always wanted to look like her. She was very light in complexion, beautiful, coming from Mamelodi, getting married in Venda at that time. I wanted to be like my aunt. But then one day, as she was working at Chirizini Hospital, there was a case.
Okay.
All I remember is that I was either doing from grade 11 or early grade 12, but I had not yet applied to go to university.
Yeah.
I remember when my aunt was reported at the South African Nursing Council, and I had to accompany her because she had a young a child. My cousin Morava was still a baby, and I was babysitting him when she was going to appear at the Nursing Council. She had not really done. I didn't understand what she has done. Her mother was a matron from Kalafong at that time, so we stayed at her mother's place. The following morning we went there. So when we get to the council, as we were in the car of her mom, I was listening to them talking about how brutal nursing profession can be. When the matron doesn't like you, they report you to council. Or when they don't like you, they dump you to go into, even if you love maternity, they make you to go and work in orthopedic ward. They make you work. Then I listened and I said, I can't. Rather, I become a doctor. So it started there, and that's how I became a doctor. Little did I know that even myself, one day I'll be in the council having to appear to the council. So in a nutshell, that's how my career has been shaped up by my family. I can't take it away. The fact that my family contributed in making sure I am where I am today. Because including my mother's father, when he sees us growing up, he had changed the mind of saying a girl child doesn't have to go to school. Now when he sees us doing well, progressing, even my cousins, especially from his daughters, all the grandchildren from the daughters were fortunate enough to be married by husbands who advocated for education for the girl child. So even my paternal side was very strong in terms of education, especially growing in the dusty streets and rural areas. So I think that is they laid the foundation of who I end up becoming like today.
A very strong one, and your father was very confident to take that risk. I mean, if you told your wife is going to leave you when she, and these stories do happen sometimes, men complaining that, hey, I took her there and there, she has studied, now she has seen the better guys. But that's a story for another day.
So you can see, where do I take the boldness of being decisive?
No.
Whether it's a risk or not, I'm not afraid of taking risk. I probably got it from him.
Probably, of course. Because from a distance, what is noticeable about you, straightforward, frank. And you say what you want to say at that particular time. Sometimes
I can say that I learned. They say the schools and universities are theaters that prepared us to be who we become. At the medical school, we were involved. From when I entered into the medical school, I've been in the SASCO from branch level until provincial executive committee, which was rare, to find medical students with other campuses, together with Bobandile Masuku, who were there serving with them. Those who are mostly in the law faculty, in humanities, those who are doing political science, they were the ones who were leading us. But we were saying, even if we're in the medical school, even if we're medical profession, we are going to be involved. And we were involved at that level. We didn't start when we were working. We started at a very early age, at a teenage age. And for me, that is where, really, truly speaking, the personality, the character was shaped up to develop the passion and being compassionate, to feel for the next person. It's a fact that when you are an SRC, probably it's in some years, because I've been in a number of, not just one SRC. It's the fact that you find that you are the only a woman, the female there. So meaning, in January when the students come, first year students, you're a woman who comes from the rural area. You understand that the struggles that a child will just be given 20 rands or 50 rands, and they buy a ticket and say, go to Medunsa. They've not even applied. What they know is that they pass well, and the principal says, this one has got distinction, can't be a doctor. And they just arrived there. And at that time, some people, I saw them continuously attacking me about issues of gender-based violence because they say I want to be popular and relevant by them. Maybe let me tell them from today, I started to deal with gender-based violence as a young student, where the girl child would come from a village and senior male students take advantage of them. And when they take advantage of them, the following day, there was one lady, our administrator in the SRC, Mayu, she will call me to say, they used to call me the popular, another case. And I must sit down and listen to what the child has gone through. There were students who were expelled in Medunsa because I was sitting in that gender commission and defend and protect those girl children. So for me, I'm saying I'm not going to keep quiet about issues of gender-based violence until the men stop violating the women. As long as they continue to violate women, they should understand that this is what we're going to do. When we were doing our clinical practicals in clinical years, we would go to George Mukari Hospital. You are going to be receiving girls from Mabopane, young girls, being raped, violated to an extent that a surgeon must go and repair their genitals in theater. And people expect me to hero worship perpetrators of gender-based violence.
Exactly, because what you're talking about, sorry to cut you there, coincidentally, a few weeks back, or even a month ago, I was speaking to the Gender Commission, discussing a report that basically refers to what you're referring to, SRC members, senior political leaders and universities taking advantage of young girls who are the freshers, the new ones. I mean, even today it's still happening.
It is exactly happening, because look at it in this way. When a woman, ordinary woman come or even high profile woman, irrespective, report being violated by a man in higher position, the whole society will be in the forefront of defending the perpetrator. To say this woman called for it. Let's look at the case of the Eastern Cape judge.
The issues of what were you wearing?
What were you wearing? You called for it. People must understand that there's a thin line. I keep on telling educators, there's a thin line between consent and violation, sexual violation, between you and your learner. Your learner will never say no, because she knows the implication of saying no. Her career, it's God. A doctor can never say there was a consent between the doctor and the patient, because the patient knows that my life is in the hands of this man. You know, and I always give them an example to say, if you look at me, the two people that I can undress and without asking question, it will be my spouse and also my doctor. Now, as a doctor, you've been given that power to can see every naked woman in this planet Earth, and then you come and tell me that there was consent between you and the patient. That is why even when I was in summer, having to defend, if I'm asked by your colleagues in media. I remember SAFM asked me when I was still leading the doctors, there was one doctor was arrested for allegations of rape, and they said, no, the patient gave, and I says, you know what? While South African laws still say you are innocent until, while it's the role of shop steward to defend, here, my responsibility is to say, the rumor itself, the allegation itself, it's so ugly that this man must really be removed from the medical registry.
Yeah.
Because you can never say there was consensual sex between you and the patient. So that is where it goes back to that particular era. And until such time where women will be free to report cases, women can't report cases, especially when it's high profile individuals involved.
True.
When it is I read a piece by Professor Rampila.
Yeah.
And listen, go and read the comments on what she has written, because she was very clear on how we are normalizing the abnormality. We are normalizing the fact that men can easily perpetrate women. And when I read at the comments, people want her to start telling us about her sexual life, who is her husband, who is a boyfriend. It's none of our business. Our business is here. It's a young woman who is crying that I've been violated. How do we support that woman? But you then become secondary violated because you have been primarily violated by this perpetrator. Instead of society to support you, society judges you, call you names. How many women will be bold enough to come up front and say, I've been violated? You wanted it. Why did you wear a short skirt? As if a man feelings operate like a television. I can just press my remote now, it will start working.
What do you think the problem is? Because it's not a problem of less educated, low-class men or something like that. Even professors, female professors complaining about vice chancellors or other professors, even at the highest echelon of society, these things are happening. Where do we get it wrong?
I think it's sickness, it's mental illness. And anyone who perpetrates a woman, if you violate a woman sexually, or even if you are an older woman, you violate a young boy, or even if you are a man, you violate a young boy, all those sexual offenders, they are mentally unstable. And until society start to deal with that and understand that there's no smoke without a fire, once a woman or a child report to be violated, something has happened. And we can come up with our technicalities, the fact that we can afford expensive lawyers who will argue facts and we get scot-free. The fact of the matter is that we are mentally sick and we need assistance, we need help. The men have got egos. Men have got their own egos, their masculinity. They think they can get anything that they want. If a woman says no to them, they feel they are not men enough. That is why they have to get it. So they are entitled. They feel there is a self-entitlement on saying, I must get everything. But anyway, it's not all the men. There are many men out there who join me in this battle. I remember at school, I think it was Professor Maluleke, who was the chairperson. This was a male professor who was the chairperson of the disciplinary committee, especially when it comes to sexual offenders. And he was very harsh. We report a case there, you go there, you appear, you wouldn't come back, you'll be dismissed. So this is those type of men that society needs, who will be protecting women. Our late Professor Mokhotlane was our principal at that time. I remember when he was interviewed, because when we appointed principal at that time, there will be a student body where we will ask questions. And his task was to say, I'm here to protect all my female students and weak males. We laugh at him, but later on he would say, you might think it's a joke, but the reality is that there are many female students who are being abused here, and there are many young males who are also abused and are not able to come out and talk. I want to create a university, an environment wherein students will feel free to say, if I'm violated, I can even go to the principal himself, the vice chancellor, and report the case. So we need to go back to those basics and say, like you're saying, even today, students, when they come, they are vulnerable.
Yeah.
They don't know anybody at the university.
True.
Then they get violated. Then they get, they are told, for you to be able to get access into, as an SRC, I'll represent you, provided you sleep with me. That is sexual harassment. Some actually, it's the lecturers. Sexual favor for you to be able to be promoted from one level to another. That, so we need to educate the girl child to understand that no one has a right to deny you access to education or access to representation just because you are a woman. Because when the male students come to them, they represent them without asking any sexual favor.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I'm interested to know how do we resolve this issue, because there are many factors that contribute to this, cultural issues. I mean, I was speaking to a guy who is a Mutsonga from the commission, as I said, and then he was telling me, look, another problem is this. I went to the mountains for initiation, and what we were taught there, we were taught things that belittle women. So we have a lot to deal with, actually, because it starts from there.
That's very true to say. Unfortunately, I can't comment about what they are teaching them in the mountain schools, traditional schools. We were under the impression that men are being taught how to protect the women, because every woman is your sister, it's your mother, it's your daughter, and all what they deserve is love and protection. But what we do, like currently, we work closely with traditional leaders, both the House of Traditional Leaders, so that this mindset must begin to change and shift, so that they understand that the material conditions today do not allow them probably to continue with that education. In the past years, there was hardly a gender-based violence, because if you beat up a woman, the crawl, they will sit in the crawl and you will be punished.
The whole community turns against you.
It will turn against you. So that's why I tend to refuse the fact that it's our traditional teaching. I think it's the people who comes and misinterpret that teaching.
The wrong teachings.
The fact that we no longer have traditional school principals, those in those mountain schools. That's why you see, even with the surgical procedures, how many of those boys come back and we have to re-circumcise them, humiliated and having lost even confidence. Some of them are amputated traumatically because people who are doing this are no longer knowing how to be. This must be done. So our closeness with the traditional leaders will be able to assist us in getting to the bottom of it, so that we can turn around and change this particular mentality.
No, it's a point you're raising, that it's wrong people who get into to be in charge of these important institutions.
True.
And everywhere there are rotten potatoes. I get you.
And okay, maybe the last one is, as you are raising what needs to be done. We need to start acting and not just talking.
Yes.
We have said beginning of the year, when we called for the arrest of the 28-year-old for allegedly impregnating the girl child, especially after he has admitted that, yes, I had sexual intercourse with this girl.
Yes.
We were saying it's high time that we need to get a perpetrator of gender-based violence to be successfully prosecuted, because once you do that, men will think twice. Those who even sleep with a girl. I mean, these are not even teenager. It's 11-year-old. It's a 12-year-old. And I'm saying men are brave. How do you undress on a 12-year-old? I think of myself at the age of 12. I look at my daughter when she was 12, and then I'm saying this really is traumatic. We need to have those successful prosecution. That is why we've put up a system as government, how we bring everybody together, from an investigating officer with the police to a nurse at the clinic, Tutuzela and a forensic doctor there, Tutuzela to a psychologist, a social worker, to a prosecutor, and finally the judge will have facts and they will be able to give a proper judgment. That's what we need to do. The second issue that we also need to do, when you see our programs of inclusive economic growth, it's because we want to see women no longer being excluded from the mainstream economy. Women have been left outside. That is why when you say to a woman who is staying in an abusive relations, you can't tell them divorce. They will tell you, I'm economically dependent on this man. So before this man gives me money, he must box me. He must beat me up. He must forcefully force himself on me, even if I'm not in the mood. Now, if with our program of inclusive economic growth, focusing on women and also rural women who have been left out, you will see that women will be independent now. Once a woman is independent, they will now have a choice to say, who do they fall in love with? Because women are sitting in marriages where they are not in love, there's no love, but they're just there because of economic benefits. But lastly, it's on the other, because it's not only the rural poor women who are being abused. It's women of our caliber.
In general,
women who are professionals. You might, if you follow me when I was still in the MEC for Health, you'll realize that on an annual basis, I was bearing either a young doctor, a young social worker, a young professional nurse, killed. Actually, doctors was worse every year, killed by the so-called spouse. And when you investigate the relationship, this is a young girl who grew up being told, you must be your first husband, it's your degree. She come back with a medical degree. The mother still asks, when are you getting married? She will pick up every Lazaro on the street. And that Lazaro, when she goes to work, the Lazaro want to follow behind. There's a difference, a thin line between jealousy and real love. There somebody becomes obsessive to her and end up saying, the inferiority complex that is there, I've already spoken about the ego, the male chauvinist of a man, end up saying, if I can't have her, no one will. And that is another story which makes me to be who I am, because a very close friend of mine, when we were doing community service, then Mkopani for Chagar, Dr. Khabo Muje, may her soul rest in peace. She had similar situation. And at some stage, then she says, it's enough. This guy is always following us wherever we go, whether we're going to attend classes, he's with us, whether it's workshop, he's behind us. And then one day she reported at home when the parents met, the parents of the guy told her that they told, this is love. Our son is showing love. And when she finally calls a quit, and he threatens her, we went to open a case there by Mahwelereng police station. The police there decided to be social workers. They become marriage counselors. Unfortunately, they call her with him. When she went there, had I known, I would have told her not to go. She went there. He was there. The policemen put them together and start to tell them, we know you, you are all coming from this area. Can we resolve your issues? Hardly 15 minutes from the police station, because she was staying in the hospital. I was staying in town. I received a call from nurses to say, come quickly. When I arrived at the hospital, my friend was lying in a pool of blood, 11 bullets pumped on her by the very same guy. So you can see that it's not only those poor women who are not, it's also women like us who feels that when you are not married, you are incomplete, because society judge you due to the title, whether you are a miss or miss. I always tell them, that's why I became a doctor, so that no one can ask me, are you a Mrs. or a Miss? I'm Dr. Ramathuba.
It's not gender specific.
I'm not gender specific. It's not.
But now I'm beginning to think here, especially you touched the issue of the teenage pregnancies. I mean, for the first time with your case here in the province, I saw that people standing up, basically government driving it. Because every year, I mean, there are reports, hey, a Christmas baby by a 13-year-old, but there's no action about that. But now, is the law actually? I mean, the law should be looking at this child is 13. What did the teacher say when he saw the child pregnant? Shouldn't the teacher be held responsible for that? Shouldn't the parents of the child be held responsible legally for that?
That's
jailed, actually.
If you remember, that's what I've been arguing during that debate when people were saying, who the hell, she's bitter, she's angry, probably some relationship of hers didn't go on well. I'm just asking myself that if I was raped at the age of 12, would I be sitting here as your premier? I'm sitting here because I was protected by my parents at home. I was protected by my teachers at school. I was protected by the community of Hamashamba. I went to Medunsa. I became somebody who protected myself, and I protected even other girls. And that's why I'm where I am today. So it is quite critical and important for all of us to be held accountable. For sure. Because when you see a pregnant underage, it means you are seeing evidence of crime and you are not reporting. You can see that people are, if you find me with stolen goods, will you keep quiet? If you keep quiet, you will be arrested. So I'm saying, when a girl child is pregnant, that girl child is going through a lot. You need to get the law. And these nurses who says they can't report the law because there's a patient-doctor, patient-nurse confidentiality. A crime, it's a crime. You can't protect somebody who committed a crime. You are reporting a crime here. You are not divulging a patient-doctor relationship.
For sure.
You are simply saying, I've got evidence that here is a child who has been violated. Because this is a child.
Exactly.
And the child must be protected by society. When we grew up, we knew that it took a village to raise us. But today we've abandoned that. We keep on saying, and some of the kids that have done survey when I was in health, you'll find that these are the kids who are orphans. Most of them, their parents have passed on, some as a result of HIV and AIDS. And then they are left as orphans. They don't have anyone to look after them. Their uncles are busy violating them. The grandmother, who is a mother to the uncle, is keep on saying, if you report this uncle, what are we going to eat? When that grandmother is also taking the foster care grant of that child and maintaining this criminal son of hers. Because we and also ourselves, we are also responsible for these cases that are happening. Because if you look at all women who are reporting these cases, majority of people who are attacking them, fellow women. Not men, fellow women.
That's true. That's true. That's a very important point you are raising. You know, it's a very sensitive issue. But I'm going to ask you this question: do you think 16 years is the right consent age?
I wouldn't think so. If I were to use my personal view, I wouldn't think so, because I still feel a 16-year-old, an 18-year-old is only in grade 12, a 17-year-old grade 11, 16-year-old is still in grade 10. And I think if we want to build a society of strong women who understand their priorities, let's allow them to be matured enough psychologically to can be able to take a decision. Some of the 16-year-olds can't even wash dishes. Now, if somebody can't even wash dishes, can't even mop a floor, but then you are saying they must look after a child. If you look at children who were born out of mothers who are teenagers, you see the majority of them coming back and again from hospital time and after time due to malnutrition. When you look, they are getting this child support grant, but they are using the child support grant to play cards and all that because they are still children themselves. They don't think of buying the child's nutritious food. If you look at, go to a pediatric ward, forward, you'll find that children with malnutrition in a province like ours, which is a food basket, you will still go to Van Velden Hospital, where in the middle of Tzaneen, where we're saying this is a food basket of the province.
But still,
they are still admitted. You go to Bufudi Donald Fraser Hospital, where every household has got a mango tree, a banana tree, and everything, but the kids are still being admitted with malnutrition. The reason is not the shortage of food necessarily, but equally the question of the parents are irresponsible because they are still children themselves. As I've already earlier on indicated, most of these teenage mothers, you'll find that they are orphans. They are running child-headed families. So that is why they don't even have anyone to guide them on how to raise a child. So there are many complications, and medically, of course, there are challenges of a child. 16-year-old, when you look at preeclampsia, hypertension, it's one of the areas. Most of them,
they're still growing.
The perineum is not yet ready to be able to deliver a baby. That's why we are forced to do cesarean section. And once you do a cesarean section for the first child, second child, chances are you'll do the second one. And then you'll do the third one, and then you say they must stop giving birth, because you also cesarean section limit the number of pregnancy that you have. But now Statistician General SG Risenga Maluleke says we must give birth because we need a population as a country to grow. So, but now because of our teenagers are giving birth at an early age, they are not able to go like our mothers who will be up to 9.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But now we're speaking a lot about the girl child. What should be done to make sure that the boy child is growing, understanding these issues, is growing to be the right kind of a man who knows his responsibilities?
It still comes back to the mother. Yes, people would say absent fathers have got a role. It's a fact. Absent fathers, when you are not there for your son, no one will be there to be guiding your son. Absent fathers are causing boys to grow up with anger, angry. Sometimes they get angry to their mother to say, it's my mother who made my father to leave. And then they start hating women. And then that is mental illness, as I've said. Then they grew up abusing fellow girls because they never grew up with a role model of a father. You know, if I can hear that one of my brothers have abused their wife, I would be shocked, because they grew up with a man who was a gentleman, who's always there for them, who has never raised his voice or his hand. Not that they wouldn't differ, but my father was not unlike me. He would not talk. He was a man of few words. If you irritate him, he will just leave you. And later on, you will see yourself that you were wrong and go and apologize. So when I look at my brothers, how they were raised, I then see this is what my father, how my father was. You can't be abusing a woman. If you're tired of your wife, if there's no more love, part ways. So men here, I'm saying you are fully responsible. Every man out there, you must know where your children are. And you know, being an absent father of both a girl and a boy child, with a girl child, your girl child, you will be surprised that you are pumping your child with money. You are not staying with them, but your child goes and get a sugar daddy because she wants a father to go shopping with, a father to take her movies to. You know, I always say I enjoy growing up being daddy's girl. And here he shaped me to be who I am. He was not a modern man with movies, with whatever. But he was a man who will ask me to change a car tire. He was a man who will show me how to wash the car. This car will be clean. I was there. He was there for me. So I wouldn't want any man to come and replace my father. I would want a man to be a partner to me. Now, coming to women on the raising the boy child, women, we are also responsible because one, there are women who do not want their father of the children to be there.
Yes.
You know, as women, sometimes we become selfish.
Yes.
Because this man gave me a child and unfortunately there is no love, he has moved on. I said I will deal with him by not allowing him access to his son. By doing that, we are destroying our sons. So let's stop being selfish and think about the child.
Yeah.
And again, as a woman in a relationship, if I decide to get married and somebody tells me that your husband has impregnated a certain woman out there, the reality is if I'm not divorcing that man, which it depends on how I'm going to handle the situation, I should also be prepared to welcome the child in the house, because that child needs a father, and the father is this one, because there's no Jesus Christ here who came through Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Every child, it was an effort.
For
and
sure.
those two people who were there, they don't have to be married, they don't have to stay together, but they can co-parent and raise their kids together. So women, let's stop being selfish and thinking about ourselves and our interest and not think about our sons.
Yeah.
But there are also women who are married, who are staying with their husband and their children together. But the way they treat the girl child and the boy child, it's different.
It's different.
When a girl come back from school, she must wash dishes, she must clean the house, she must do all the house chores. But when the boy comes back, he must go and play soccer.
Yeah.
And soccer, when you're playing it, you're refreshing your mind.
Exactly.
You become, and then if the boy is playing soccer, he gets assaulted. He comes home crying. As a mother, I'm quick to say, go back and fight for yourself. When a girl child come crying, I've been assaulted, I go out and say, I'm going to defend my child.
You interfere.
Now, when you don't intervene, when it's a boy child and you encourage them to go and fight back, you are inculcating the spirit of violence from an early child. And lastly, women who are staying in abusive marriage, when your son grow up, seeing your husband assaulting you physically, and 2 minutes later, bring you a bunch of roses, they grow up knowing that when you love a woman, you beat them up before you give them a present. Because as women, we receive those roses smiling. Instead of showing that what he did is wrong, no amount of roses can prevent from that gender-based violence. So as women, we should avoid staying in relationship where we're being abused and our sons are witness of the abuse. They grew up understanding that a woman must be assaulted.
Yeah. I do get you on that one. I never thought you were this passionate about this issue, which has taken like a long time for us to discuss. But yeah, since we're on this issue, you are the first female premier of the province. There have not been many in the country, anyway, in other provinces as well. It's 2025. Does it still matter that you're a female premier?
Ordinarily, it's not supposed to matter. It was supposed to be a normal. We should be judged on our capacity.
Yes.
We shouldn't be judged on our gender. We should look at who is good at what. Because when you have a good leader, it's the leader who will be able to deliver for both men and women.
Exactly.
Now we are forced by the material conditions that we still need to push. That's why 30 years into democracy, it's only for the first time that you are now saying finally Limpopo has got a female leader. But it was not supposed to be that. But unfortunately, it has to be said, because we must remind you that we are taking there's also even now a setback because there are only 2 female premiers in the country. Out of 10, only 2. All 8 are men. And does it mean we don't have women who are capable? I don't agree. I think we've got more women with capacity, but the men, because of their male chauvinist, they don't believe that a woman can lead them.
Yeah, let's go back to your activism, political activism, just a little bit. Who was your role model, your influence, really, to find yourself where you are now? And you've even abandoned being a doctor to be a politician.
I think growing up, my cousin brother, where I started to read about ANC stuff as a young girl, it was my cousin brother, may his soul rest in peace, Thabo Masebe.
Oh, okay.
Our mothers were sisters, our sisters. Unfortunately, his mother also passed on. Now, that's where I was interested in understanding. When I went to Medunsa, he was in Shell House, in the ANC Youth League, and that's where becoming very close. He was mentoring me. I will go and write an ANC, what is it, SRC manifesto. He will say, read for me, and I'll do that. So that's it. That's how it has always been, and until when I completed, when I arrived in Mokopane, I remember I told you that choosing Mokopane was political motivated. The comrades in Mokopane will tell you I came there and looked for a branch of the ANC and a branch for the Communist Party at that time, and we built a branch in town. There was no strong branch in town. I started a branch in. During the demarcation, I was there when the branch was started, what 31. And also we started the South African Communist Party branch, and I was a secretary. At that time, I was a PC member of the Young Communist League because we were relaunching the Young Communist League at that time. And I then served in that branch in the region of Waterberg until I go into the provincial executive committee since 2014. And that's where I am.
Interesting. But what happens when you decide? You are a medical doctor, there's politics. How do you decide now? No, let me jump into politics, and what influences that? Because obviously these are two things. I think your heart was, maybe you had to cut it into two. Your love is divided here.
No, it's not at all. As I'm giving you see, when we were in medical school, I was asked that question by, I think, one professor, as I was busy defending students who were excluded. They told me you should have been in the law. We don't need medical doctors who are here to reason and defend others. And I said, what is politics? I responded to that deal. Politics is about transformation. Education on its own, it's transformation. You yourself, by being a professor, you are a politician because you have transformed yourself from being an ordinary rural boy looking after cattle to be sitting here now and teaching and producing doctors for the country. Now it's still the same. When you are a medical doctor, you transform the lives of people.
Of course,
people are on the deathbed, you bring them back to life. That is, you transforming the lives of people. People who are, the quality of life is poor, you make it better. It's politics. Everything is about politics. So there was nothing that I did. When I graduate and I was working in Mokopane and I was an activist within the community, I having been orientated, reading what Che Guevara used to write about, to say, how do I sit in a consulting room and complain about people dying of TB because of overcrowding, people dying of waterborne disease because government is not providing clean water. There are certain diseases that we could easily prevent. Disease as a result of government policies where there's pollution, people are smoking, you are not regulating the sugar content, salt content in what your people are eating. He said, I can sit here and complain that the queue is long. Or I can get out and take a gun and join the revolutionaries and fight and get power and change the water, give them clean water, give them houses, there won't be TB, give them all those deal with all this disease. The life expectancy of Cuba today is one of the highest, but being the poorest country, the number of doctor-patient ratio that they have today, because Fidel Castro and Che Guevara took that revolutionary consciousness. So hence I'm saying, I was in Mukopani and I says, sitting here and complaining when I can go and really become part of those who transform. I sat there, complain. We had only 2 ICU beds.
Yeah.
ICU beds in Mukopani Hospital, 2 for the whole region of Waterberg.
Yeah.
And sitting there when you and your wife are involved in an accident and there's only 1 bed available, I must choose who to. Now I'm playing the responsibility of God. It's only God who decides who dies and who live. Then that's when I said, do I sit here and continue, or do I lead these doctors and get them a proper trade union and go and fight the current regime to make sure that Mukopani does not have 2 ICU beds and I'm not subjected to the responsibility of God. So this is not separate, it's the same. That is when I get involved into the medical activism, wherein when I say to the minister, we need an anesthetic machine, I'm not asking for myself. I'm asking for the people, so that when I operate them, they are safe. So that is what really has happened. And fast forward, they then bring me to say, come and resolve all the issues that you are complaining about. Because that's what they told me to say. The Premier Matavata says, I'm told you have got all the memorandum that you have been submitting to Minister Mtswali. Many are talking about Limpopo issues. So come here, join me and resolve all those issues. You say you demand. And indeed, Mukopani had 2 ICUs. When I became an MEC for health, Mukopani has got how many? 40-something beds, 22 ICU. Then we've got 22 probably for adults, for children, for what? There was a lot that one could put. So I'm trying to say, you cannot separate yourself being a journalist. It's because you have seen the injustice that is happening somewhere. And you decide to say, if somebody doesn't speak about this injustice, who will? That's politics. So people who says, hey, these ones love to be politicians. It's not. It's about transformation. Politics, it's all about that. So if you are a politician and you are not driving by the eager to transform basically the lives of people, to serve humanity, then you are not a politician.
True.
You don't understand what politics is about. No. You know, Prof. Mukhokong used to say to us, and Dr. Gwen Ramukhub, when we get elected into the SRC, put a tea bag. If the water doesn't change color, there's something wrong. So when you get into the SRC and you don't change the lives of students, you go to negotiate with me and don't say the problem is with me, it's with you. You must be able to convince me and win the battle for your students. So it's all about that. So politics for me is transformation. I am for transformation and I want society to transform. So once you transform society, then there won't be a need to have politicians.
Yeah, of course. Now we are dealing with many sicknesses than when you were a doctor. I mean, they come in many forms. Lack of service delivery and all of that. Yeah. But now just to take you a little bit again to Mbilwi, you mentioned Mbilwi that you're a product of, I mean, that's excellent school and known for producing science students all over. They are serving all over South Africa, even abroad. Yeah, and I think because of that school and maybe many others, the province has got a lot of engineers, scientists, doctors, specialists all over the world. But the province itself is short in those skills. How do those people, how do you bring them in to assist?
I think you're quite correct. Limpopo, I'm the one who always brag about you look at your statistician general, your auditor general, the principal of the United Nations, the first African Professor Marwala.
Yes.
He was my senior there at GBV. So you when you talk about all those, you get worried to say we're still in a province where we're still struggling to deliver water to our people, where we're still struggling with the roads. You can see the current floods. It's a setback for us. Reverse all the work that we had done with our program of and you want to believe that in this day and age, there should be probably other ways where we can fast track building of roads, constructions of roads. There could be other ways where we can improve on water reticulation. As it's raining the way it is, we are failing to harvest the water because we do not have skills. And I sit down and say, the responsibility of the government is to create conducive environment, to get all this expertise, to be able to find expression where they can come and assist. Now, coming to your question, what we are doing, we're saying, let's bring all the those who comes from this province, all those who are professionals wherever they are, to come and say, this is how we want to help. That's why last year when I opened the legislature, I says, they say it takes a village to raise a child. I'm saying it takes a child now to raise that village.
For sure.
This village, the village has made me, with that poor clinic, that 4-room clinic, has immunized me, and I never died of polio, malaria, whatever it is. Today, I need to go back and plow back to that clinic so that other children and generations to come could be produced by that village. So that's what we are currently working on. We will be launching this homecoming a program on the 27th after the state of the province address. When we open the legislature, we will then, from our SOPA, we are going to have that dinner where we are inviting anyone who is an expertise to come and say, this is what I can contribute. What we are doing is that we are creating that conducive environment for all of them to say, don't give us reasons that we are closed outside. We want you to bring ideas. How can we accelerate water delivery to our people? You have the brains, you have the technique, you have the know-how. And what is important with you is that you know that village, you know every corner of that village, and you know how can it be done to make sure that we resolve. Bringing people from outside, from Europe, they don't understand how our province is. They don't know the dynamics of our province. You know this province. You are well vested about this province. That's why we want you to come and help us to build our province. We're saying we're tired of every Friday, N1 North. It's full. Every Sunday, N1 South. People must go and work in Gauteng, but they stay in the province. We want our children to graduate and work in their province. Those who decide to go outside, it must be by choice. Not because you are forced, because there's no way. If you stay here, you loiter, there won't be any industry that will appoint you. So we want to industrialize our economy. And industrializing our economy means we need industrialists. They are there, they are out there. And like you are saying, they are the sons and daughters of this province. All we need is let them come home and plow back.
Okay. And in your, what do you think are the main issues that the province should fix? What are the main challenges? What are your priorities?
Inclusive economic growth is number one.
That's number
because once you deal with inclusive economic growth, you will be able to have not what we call a jobless economy. You want an inclusive economic growth that will result into development. Once you start seeing development by jobs being created. And when we say our target is 2%, And we think if we can start for this financial year, let's start with a target of 2% economic growth, which is not only talking to the few. Whether you go into the agriculture, it should not be only the fund sales of the day. It should also be the fund sales coming to produce as many blacks, commercial farmers as possible. You should be able to. Our forefathers grew up surviving by agriculture. Surviving, there was nothing. Their main was farming. It was agriculture. It was working the land. It was farming those cattle, those goats. The one that was their source of their livelihoods. So we're saying, how do we convert that for them to become commercial farmers so that we get markets for them? They are also participant in the exporting of these goods. So that inclusive economic growth, for me, it talks about those who were marginalized. You know, the first time I listened to the president, he was very sharp on the inclusive when he was focusing to say, even those in the rural areas who were sidelined, who were not participating in the mainstream economy, even the women, even the people with disability. That is our priority. Because if we do that, economic growth, not only on agriculture, and we're also saying in agriculture, it should not only be about producing and these products and exporting them raw as they are. We're saying let's process them. And processing, it's simple when we talk about industrialization. It's when you process a product, and this is when you are adding value on something. You produce a mango. A mango, let's say mango, it's 20 rands, a mango. If you process that mango to a juice, the juice can be 100 rand. The process of processing a juice can create more jobs. You're not only creating jobs with people who are picking up the mangoes. They then process the mangoes. You've got more jobs. And when you've got more jobs, then the juice you have added value. You are exporting your material not as raw as it is. It's the same with your timber. Process it and export. Don't export all your raw materials. That's what we are saying. We are also saying in mining, we are expertise as South Africans in digging up our gold, extracting all our minerals. But we are saying we can't export them raw as they are. We've been saying this with slogans after slogans.
For many years.
This time around, we have got to get industrialists. Because remember, the biggest mistake we are doing is to go to the mine owners and say to Anglo-Plat, can you please start processing? They are not industrialists. They know how to extract the minerals. So we are saying, let's now move and get industrialists who will come and help us to process these minerals. Locally. So when you process, again, is that process, you're creating more jobs. And then you are adding value on your minerals. You are now exporting them at a higher value than you would when you are extracting them and export them raw as they are. And we are also saying tourism in our province. There is a lot that can be done, and which we have already started the work of promoting tourism. You might have seen we're all over because we want people to love to come to Limpopo. We keep on reminding people that you go to Dubai to see a camel and a horse, a camel and the what is it, desert? Is you see sand and a camel because the other buildings are man-made. In our province, you will come and you see I don't know how many natural resources and endowments that we do have. If you want to see spring waters, you can go and see. If you want to see the big 5, you can find the big 6. You can find you can get anything you want. The caves. You know we are blessed. So that is how we are going to deal with inclusive economic growth. Then the second 2 things that are a problem. I said it's 3. I've already spent time on this. And if I win on this, I will also win on these two.
Yeah,
also.
while we're still on that, before we move on, something comes to my mind, because we tend to self-destruct again. I will mention the issue of land reform. We get land, but then we fight, the blacks are fighting amongst themselves, then the land is lying fallow. Now it defeats the purpose of what we are saying. We go to tourism. It's basically the same thing. Land gets given back to black people, tourist sites and everything. We come, we destroy, we kill the rhinos, those kinds of things, self-destruct again. Then we've got issues of mining again. Well, the mines are coming there, they divide communities, they extract, there's no value for the communities. You know, it's good you're talking about that. If things can be done properly, we can have progress. But now we've got these issues that are hindering the vision that we're having.
You are spot on. Capital, maybe it's because I come from a background of the Communist Party.
Yeah.
Capital is very smart. They are always ahead.
Yeah.
And they always think about what to do to distract the progress. And their main strategy, starting with the apartheid regime, it's divide and rule.
Yeah.
Because Verwoerd knew that if vendors, tsongas, pedis can stay together and live together like he found them doing that, living in peace and harmony, not seeing this one as a pedi or whatever, speaking together all languages, mixing them, kids growing, knowing all the languages, dancing, sharing cultural dances, cultural food. He decided to say, no, the vendors must stay here and move the tsongas with GG buses, trucks, and say, move with the GG, you stay the Paris, you must stay there. And then he calls you Libua, Gavans, Pulu, and Vend. And he won. He won even up to date. We still see each other. When I see you, I don't see a human being. But when I look at you now, let me just look closely. If you don't tell me you are Sizwe, wouldn't I see you as me? How do you differ with my brothers? The only difference between me and you is that you've got a hoarse voice as a man and I've got a soft voice and I've breast, we differ with gender only. But in terms of who we are both human beings. But he came and made sure that he divide us across ethnic groups, and which is something that is still, and now it's emerging in this particular province, and we need to fight it. Because I was asking somebody yesterday that when you keep on telling me that the vendors are doing this, the Batsongas are doing this, when do you really know who you are? Because even your mother might not be sure. Where is your DNA test to show? You can just say, Phophi is vendor because I was born at Amashamba. Where are the DNA tests that shows that I'm vendor? Because even if the DNA test can show that I was conceived by Mr. Ramathuba, Mr. Ramathuba is not sure that he was conceived by his father. He might have been raised by a man who doesn't even know who his father is. People were working all over, going to... So we must take away that. But I'm bringing this because that's how capital think. So when they know there's a mine that they've discovered, there are minerals that they've discovered, they start looking about amongst us and start dividing us. Come and give you peanuts. And set you up against your brother. Come give your brother another peanut. So it is a high time that also as government, we've got to go deeper. You say if politicians are there for transformation, that's when they will show their leadership by going to meet with all the structures within that community to say, this is what needs to be done. For instance, your CPAs now, they're the ones who have been given these farms, they've destroyed them. You go to Zebediela Citras, it's completely that which used to be a shining star. Why? Because of the infighting. The little money that goes into the account, people are thinking about Range Rovers. People are not thinking about working the land and coming up with wealth. So that is going to be a mountain to climb. I won't lie to you. But you can never say you have failed until you have tried. As President Mandela you once said, it's never impossible. It can never be impossible until it's done. You can never say you can't do this. It seems always impossible until you can do it. So for me, I believe that we have got to try. And once we try, that's when we will give up, when we say we have tried. We need to go down. I was saying this thing of saying if you understand 80% of your problems, then solution will be easy. It will be, you'll spend 20% bringing solutions. So that's what we really need to do on that issue of land.
Okay, interesting. We can move on to the other two.
The other two, it's the issue of the roads, which I'm not going to dwell on them. Then the last important issue is water. So for me, I'm saying, yes, there are hospitals that must be fixed. All this, if you deal with these three, all these things, these other ones, they will fit in.
But now, the province is dry, naturally arid. Where do you get the water? Because I understand municipalities like Musina are even going to Zimbabwe to get water. Naturally, it's a natural problem for the province. What is the solution? Build more dams? What do you do?
The province, it's dry, but at the same time, we are failing, even where we have sources of water.
Okay.
Well, let's start there. That's why I'm always saying it always seems impossible until it's done by President Mandela. Look at the Guyana project. Nandoni Dam, it's always full.
It is.
But how long did it take us to reticulate water to get to Guyana?
People are still complaining even now.
The very same people who stays 10 k's from Nandoni Dam, there by Thobela Mpapuli, there by Thobela Ramoba, they still don't have water. So, but the dam is full. But there's still no. Flag Bushielo, there by Skukune, it's full. The Hope Dam, it's full. But are the people of Jane First having water? That's the question. And also, we've seen in other African countries where underground water, it's being used. Don't we have underground water? We do.
For sure we do.
We do. Right now, we are seeing flooding. Do we have harvesting mechanism for the water? We don't have.
Even rainwater.
Even rainwater we can't harvest. Yes, we agree that we need another dam around Limpopo River, there by Musina, so that, because we know by January, it's always, Limpopo River is always full, so that by then we are able to harvest this water that we have. The reason why Mozambique will have flooding, like now we are having flooding because the water from northwest and Gauteng, it's not raining now in Limpopo, but it's flooding. That's why because in Tabazimbi and Lipalale. And those people, when we told them that move out of this area, they said it's not raining. They didn't move. But guess now, it's flooding for them because the water from other province, it's coming to our province. The same, you will hear that Mozambique, it's a disaster, even when it might not be raining at that time, because we are not harvesting water here in South Africa.
Why? We don't have the skill? Or what's the
you said the skills are there. They are all over the world. We are not creating conducive environment for our skills to come and solve the problems. Hence this campaign that I'm saying, bring South African skills back to South Africa to resolve the problems of their fellow South Africans. After resolving their problems, they can go back and go anywhere. But they should have contributed. They must come and transform the lives of their ordinary people. Yeah,
exactly. Because as you were saying now, with water, then you solve all the problems if there's enough water. I've seen the issues around the SEZ. They always, there's not enough water. How can we do this? There are those complaints. But how is it going, the SEZ? How the impact, the investment, the money coming in? How are we doing that?
Commitments in terms of pledges for investors are there. Maybe let me start with Musina Makado SEZ.
Yes.
Our challenges were on the north side. It was the issue of the land. Because that was the agricultural land, which agriculture needed to find clarity from Treasury that they are not going to be selling the land, and then they must get concurrency from public works. So that work has just been finalized. We have received the letter from the Minister of Land Affairs and Rural Development Two, can now municipality can meet and now start it. So anytime the issue of land has been resolved in the south side, which was the biggest problem.
Yeah.
On the north side, that was on the north side.
Yeah.
On the south side, we have the operator who we were not really happy about how the performance was, but there were challenges, including of town planning, where the municipality had not yet met and finalized. Now the municipalities will be meeting and finalizing. Once the municipality gives that go ahead, we will then put that operator on terms. And for me, I'm giving them terms to say, if you don't start operating by this particular time, get lost, let me get another operator. But I couldn't bring that because there was still work that needed to be done on our side. That's the Musina Makado SEZ.
Okay. But then talking about its impact, projected impact in terms of job creation, in terms of investment that is expected to come in rands of dollars.
So we already have had investors, because we were looking at it should be creating not less than 22,000 jobs. We were looking at that.
Huge, yeah.
That's a massive project. We need to go. There are already mines that have already looked at, and then especially the renewable energies now. We already have commitment to say, if we are to give 1,000 hectares tomorrow, they will be coming to start. There were those issues of environmental, but we've dealt with. There's nothing stopping us from working on that. And that issue of saying we want to cut how many 500 baobab trees, that is people are just coming up with stories. You must expect that NGOs are there to make sure they oppose anything that government comes. And I keep on telling my team, there are certain NGO that even when you are giving them oxygen, when they are dying, as long as it's coming from government, they must oppose.
It's not right.
Even that oxygen which is supposed to save their lives, there are those NGOs. They can call me names, I'm used to that. But the fact of the matter, we are moving, we are pushing ahead. So the once the whole SEZ, these two, I'm sure by the beginning of this financial year, which is starting in April, we should now start to see activities going on in that Musina Makado SEZ. Then coming on this other one of Phophi Ramathuba, we did not wait for the gazetting and the licensing. There's also already an industrial park wherein you will see Glencore has already, and other industries. There's activities. People are working there in that industrial park. We will be signing, we've signed an MOU with Glencore when we were at the mining in Daba, where we are also in terms of the skills. They will be training. Their mine will also be a training environment for many of our students from CETA accredited colleges, especially focusing on artisans. They also have their own training, which they will be taking students from the local area. With them, for the gazetting, we only left with the minister will be having stakeholder engagement. He has confirmed to me that when he comes back from Ethiopia, he will be engaging. And then after that, then the cabinet will receive the full report, and then there will be licensing. Once there is licensing, we will just, that's when the more funding will come. That's why we want the licensing. For now, we're just working on our own without that proper budgeting.
Just to lay the foundation. Yeah, of course. You touched on renewable energy. Unlike Mpumalanga, where it's a big issue because the electricity is generated there from coal, and this transition is having a very big impact. In Limpopo, what are the plans around that? We do have some minerals that are important. The province has got the minerals that are important for renewable energy,
hydrogen,
things like that. So in the plan around renewable energy in Limpopo, what is it? It's solar energy? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Solar energy, we have got an abundance of the sun. We call it a healthy sun in the language of engineers.
Yeah.
You will remember that on the 1st of November last year, the president visited us with his cabinet.
Yeah.
And amongst the pronouncement that he committed through the Minister of Electricity was this work on renewable energy. The province has already, through LIDED, adopted our own renewable energy strategy.
Okay.
So we have got a policy and the strategy that we are working as guided by.
Yeah.
So to avoid issues that you are raising, to say now we'll start to be told close this coal mine because it will not. We want to avoid waking up haphazardly.
Yeah.
Hence, we have developed this strategy that went through EXCO and it was adopted by EXCO.
Yeah.
We have started the implementation. As I'm saying, you might have heard when I debated during the SONA, when I said the president will be invited to come for the first time. We'll be having a village, Madimbo and Mavete. These are two villages with 400 households. Yeah. Those 400 households, they've never had electricity since 30 years. Oh. So this is a project that that was done over a period of less than 4 months, wherein through the renewable energy, through solar, they're going to have street lights, they will have electricity. The president will be switching on that grid with a 5G connectivity. Okay. So you can see, because if you look at that area of Mosina, the abundance of the sun.
Yes, it's hot.
So that is one of the area that is going to happen. But there are also a number of investors. If you look at those commitments of 120 billion during our investment conference, I'm not sure if it's 40 or 60% of it. Was about the renewable energy. Oh, okay. We have already launched with the Chinese ambassador at Phophi Ramathuba. Another solar plant we have already done. Okay. We met with other investors yesterday. They are focusing on hydrogen and oil. And they've been able to tell me that, yes, they've done their investigation. We're just waiting for processes so that we can officially pronounce. But
sorry to stop you, there's oil in the province. There's also hydrogen. Let's
talk about that one at the right time. But I want to just say to you, exploration, it's ongoing. We're waiting for the confirmation of the results. So there's work that is ongoing. I'm just waiting for the confirmation. Once I have the results, I'll be able to go and confirm to say we've been able to, we can drill a hydrogen here. We don't have to be dependent on, but we're working with ESCOM also. And still more jobs will be created. The problem here is when people think because they are used to something, change becomes painful. They think when you change, you are going to destroy jobs. When fourth industrial revolution started, I remember in Kosato we were fighting that you're going to take away our jobs for cleaners because you will be using robots to clean, to do that. But the fact of the matter, it's done in the car manufacturing long time ago. How many engines are they able to produce in a short space of time because they use robots, all those parts. But if they were still using the old, and you can see more jobs are now created. The important thing is that people must be prepared to be reskilled. Once we say we're changing how we must be reskilled. But people are afraid and are lazy to be reskilled. They are used to how things are done. If it's a robot to clean, there must be somebody who must manufacture that robot. And manufacturing a robot create more jobs. But the problem here is that a robot will need someone with skills to produce. But mopping the floor, you don't need skills. That's where the fear is. Because people do not want to be skilled. And we are saying, let's get into the mechanization of everything. Through mechanization, whether it's in agriculture, you'll produce more products. You'll process your products through mechanization. So for me, I'm for that, and I know it's going to go a long way in assisting us. Renewable energy will help us.
Even your super speech can be done in 5 minutes.
You see?
With AI.
Yes. Artificial intelligence. We must focus on that now.
One day they don't have jobs, eh?
No, they must skill themselves. They must reskill themselves.
Yeah, that's the scary part about it, especially if you are, you are a worker and you're thinking about it. It's like, what's happening here? But when it comes to electricity, the province has done really, really well. When I check the stats, 98.55% of households have got access to electricity. It's because of all these initiatives. Eh?
These initiatives will push us to 100%. And also will resolve load reduction. Load reduction. Yeah.
Okay. Because there will be more, obviously, into the grid.
Yeah.
Very interesting. It is very interesting. I think you've touched on the service delivery issue. Okay, the three main issues that you think should be resolved in the province. Now let's go to municipalities themselves. There's still a mess there in terms of governance issues especially, which really lead to maybe corruption issues and all of that. There's still a big challenge there. They are failing to deliver. All you hear is, hey, money's lost. Hey, this tender, is not being awarded properly. There are, the focus is on those squabbles instead of delivering services. Especially water, I think it's a local sphere matter. Internal streets and roads are local issues. But there's been an issue again about skills down there now. Do we have skillful people there? Why governance issues there? What's the problem? How are we planning to resolve those issues?
Municipalities are highly political.
Yeah.
You must understand that.
Yeah.
So when you deal with politicians, you see you look at Department of Education, there's only one politician who is the MEC.
Yes.
The rest of them, even if they are politicians belonging to the branch, but they are not there because of politics.
In the workplace.
They are there in the workplace. They are appointed in terms of the Labor Relations Act and the Public Service Act.
Yes.
But when you go to municipality, it's only the MEC who in a department will be appointed by the Premier, can be removed anytime. You go to municipalities, you've got I don't know how many councillors.
True.
In fact, look at Johannesburg Metro. The mayor is in charge of how many councillors there. Even the president does not command so many ministers and deputy ministers combined.
Now
true. You can see for yourself that each municipality you've got a mayor who must deal with the PMT first, the chief whip, the speaker, and also executive members, MMCs, and then other ward councillors and PR councillors and all of them. Now, where you have got those politicians with all our egos as politicians, because not all of us understand our role as politicians, that it's a transformative agenda.
Yes.
We don't know that. Or we know, but we try to not to prioritize it. So when you get there in the municipality, you're worried about your own, to say, how do I become rich quicker? That's the problem there. So for every single project, if they want to procure water, it's highly politicized. If you want to appoint a municipal manager, you don't first think about who is this well-skilled manager who can help this council to deliver. We're all thinking about who is in line with who will be able to take instruction from who. So that it's the reality that we can't take away from. So unfortunately, that is the most difficult aspect, which this is where you need the renewal programs of political parties. Because if the political parties themselves, which deploys, becomes very firm and strong, and now deploys people who understand that our task here is to transform. I always tell ward councillor that be able to tell a story in your 5 years. If you are a ward councillor and you are not inspired by saying at the end of my term, I should be able to tell a story that I came in this ward, there was no water, there's water. There was no street lights, there's street lights. Streets were graded, graveyards are clean, refuse has been collected. This is the schools there, clinics there, because I work with the departments. If you are a councillor and you don't have that within you, then you have a challenge. So, but once we get those type of cadres deployed in our municipality, that is the first and the biggest win, because immediately you get them, they will appoint people with skills. There's no need for municipalities to still now be seeking when they want to. For them to get the annual financial statement, they must outsource. When AGSA is producing so many chartered accountants, who are, some of them are not even employed, but you are saying you can't get this annual financial statement. Those who serve articles within the AGSA, why are you not employing them with those millions that you are hiring a consultant? You hire a consultant, you still get a disclaimer. What is that? In terms of our municipality, what we are doing as a province, we are strengthening the district development model, wherein we have already appointed the champions. The president has also appointed ministers and deputy ministers who have champions. We are now on a monthly or bi-monthly base, rotating our executive council in a municipality. Like we started with Lepelle Nkumbi municipality. Here in Capricorn district will be our next municipality is in Musina. So we are going to be visiting all our municipality. We sit there when we arrive. We ask the PMT to present the state of municipality. We go and visit and interview people, communities, look at the water provision, listen to how they are presenting, and support them. We're saying we're dealing with politicians. We should not be judging them. We should be looking at how to help them, to say, it is for your own good when you have a municipality that is working well.
Sure, of course. Okay, while we're still on local government, now there's this issue of traditional leadership. I think the province is having difficulties with a lot of disputes, with a lot of court cases, government being taken to courts because you have given a recognition certificate to Chief so and so, but they feel he does not deserve the position, or you're recognizing a community, a traditional community that should not be recognized. All those, I mean, there have been many cases. Now, these are important issues as well about cohesion, unity at a local level. You know, how do you deal with these things?
I think, like I always say, we need to understand the problem firstly before we even try to come up with responses. The ANC-led government, through its wisdom, felt it's important to recognize traditional leadership, and also not recognizing them, but provided you can't just recognize and don't give them tools of trade and resources for them to be able to operate at that space. And I think that's where a number of problems starts, because now traditional leadership is no longer seen as as something that you were born to serve your community. As a royal person, as a chief, you are born. You are born. It is tradition that dictates that this is your rightful, through birth. But now it's now seen as a means of accumulating wealth and power. I'm saying this because even those that would not necessarily be the rightful owners of this, they now see it's an opportunity. But I know historically, even in our culture, I know in Chivenda they say, but it has becoming worse, because now when you are recognized as a senior traditional leader, you are given power, where some of them, you've got power over the land. They're selling our land. sometimes for nothing, you get worried. And when the mines, when there are minerals discovered, you as a traditional leader, you'll be the first one. We will consult you when we want to have a project. We're going to consult you when we will give you a transport. We'll do all those things.
In short, you have the interest of your people at heart.
We were doing that for you to have it, because we knew that you were born leader. You must have interest of your own people, because if you don't look after your people, your kingdom will perish. Because once your people start disrespecting you and leaving you, you are going to, your ancestors have given you a legacy, but you are, what are you doing with your own legacy? So for me, yes, that is the major a cause of challenges we're facing. And I keep on saying how to move forward on this matter. The premier or the president does not have the powers to appoint who is the key, or to nominate, or to choose.
Yes.
Maybe if I use to choose that the rightful heir, it's this so and so.
Yes.
The royal houses themselves, they must sit down, resolve the matter, and give us the name, and we will be able to appoint, so that there is a certificate that is provided to that person.
Yeah.
Now, what this has led into is that people are going to court, and in some cases, courts give you wrong people. Because the courts, it will depend who has got more money, who can afford a good advocate than the one who always loses cases. So the one who can get a smart lawyer will be able to win and get that. But we are working with the House of Traditional Leaders, and equally as a province, you will see we're going to have some changes where there will be advisory body in the Premier's office that will be focusing on dealing with these things of traditional, so that we don't encourage people to go to court. We encourage dialogues amongst themselves.
I cannot finish by not asking you this question. I've seen you getting irritated by it, but I will ask it anyway. In terms of the political side of things, there's always this notion that if you're a premier, then you must be an ANC chairperson. There are two centers of power and all those things. Where do you stand? You are a premier, you are not a chairperson. And I don't know whether it's open for you to discuss this, is it something that you'll be looking forward to, maybe to lead both the premier and the organization that is leading the province?
I think, like you always say, people say maybe I am irritable, the manner which I answer this question. But that's not necessarily that I'm irritable.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm a focused person. When I'm given a task to perform, I want to do it to the best of my ability.
Yes.
And the best of my ability will determine my next step. If you remember, when I was still the MEC for Health, I received a lot of questions to say there is a public outcry that you must be the next premier or the next minister of health and all that. And I keep on saying to people, look, the current task ahead for me is to deliver those 500 ambulances. Is to make sure that what I've promised the people of Limpopo during my budget vote, of getting those clinics to operate 24 hours, of getting those long queues, those hospitals being revitalized, being rebuilt, is the task for me. So can I be given an opportunity to focus on this task? When the time for debating premiership comes, the issue will be debated by the relevant people. And indeed, the relevant people were able to open up the debate, and the processes were followed, and here I am right now.
But history is repeating itself.
I'm given a task to grow an inclusive economic growth, at least by 2% this financial year. I should also be able to focus on job creation. And I must get more jobs must be created and bring public confidence into our government. I must make sure that the roads are constructed, the floods have caused havoc. We must correct, we must fix these roads. We must build the proper infrastructure, whether it's in health. We must make sure the Siloam Hospital, Limpopo Academic Hospital, we must make sure people of Guyana must drink water. Now, once you do that, you bring the confidence of the people of this province into the ANC government. That is the most important task. And then at the right time, then the ANC will come and say, your time of office has come to an end. We're opening the processes. Branches then will start to discuss and say, no, we want her. No, we don't want her. We want. Then we allow that process. But if now we start opening discussions when we are taking away the responsibility of branches away from the branches. The branches are now worried about service delivery. It is in the top of agenda. I've been saying, Limpopo, we have done well with the elections last year, mainly because we have structures and we respected our structures. Even now, I want to respect our branches and give them that opportunity to be the one who leads these particular processes.
Okay. No, it's understandable. Fair enough. Yeah, I think you've said a mouthful. Well, there's a lot we can talk about, but maybe it can take us another 12 hours to sit here and talk about it. But thanks very much for making your time available. Ndolevu Amanda in Chivenda.
Yes,
okay?
That's correct. No, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. This was therapy. I was able to ventilate.